690 Studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media outlets we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. We have got quite a bit to talk about here today. Among other things, of course, that much anticipated consumer price index, the inflation report for short, coming out with some ever so slightly blockbuster numbers. They're topping recent charts in any case here. And a lot of focus on that here, plus more fallout to, well, what has been going on and the releases from that Uvalde video, particularly from some of those locally here, including local lawmakers talking about, well, what the investigation shows so far, plus more delving into, of course, that UMC certificate of obligation, that not quite under $400 million, up to $400 million that has been talked about here, what those numbers look at and what the actual realities of the situation are there, along with some of the other investigative reporting going on from our news partners at KFOX-14, talking with Estefania today, as we do on most Wednesdays. But that's just a few of the topics we got in mind for you here, because we'll also be taking your comments and calls throughout the latter parts of the show, particularly the calls. Comments always over on the social media, as I mentioned there. If you're really wanting to chime in, add your 2 cents. It's one of the better ways to do so throughout the program. And then, of course, we will get to those calls a little bit later in the show, as we usually do. So a lot of swirling things. I'm answering and sending out emails right up until we get into the show here today. So in terms of confusing economic indicators, today just feels like another par for the course, to be honest with you. Among other things, we have got whatever's going on with gas prices, saying that they are supposedly coming down now. Employment reports looking like they're still going strong, and yet U.S. inflation hitting a new 40-year high in June at 9.1%. So this is the consumer price index and looks year over year. So compared to last year, which, if anyone had any questions about, are things more expensive? And we're like, well, I'm not sure. Yes, it absolutely is. Not that was much of a contention in anyone's mind, I know, unless you're going total Bluth style, how much can a banana cost, $10 style on me here. You probably have noticed, and paying for the groceries and having not fun with that. So that's a bit of fun going on today. I know that there were some expectations of it being 8.8%. I want to say I heard earlier this week as being expected what might come out with, so it hitting over that 9%. Well, some immediate things that can probably be seen is that whole trajectory being done by, well, among other things, the Federal Reserve of increasing the interest rate, among other things, is going to continue here. And just on a monthly basis, prices rose 1.3% from May to June. Another substantial increase of prices that jumped 1% from April to May. So even the month over month is still grinding up there. As Calvin Williams joining us over on the social media. Again, good afternoon to you as well. If you want to leave your comments over there during the show, also dropping those likes and reacts, we do appreciate. Flaco Jimenez. So again, if you were wondering why your dollar doesn't seem to be going as far, no, it's not being undercut, but it is costing more to do things. I guess you could call that undercutting if you really wanted to. I mean, among other things, just the swirling issues that surround this, because it's often easy and desirable for a lot of people to point at one thing. Okay, that's what the issue, this is the measure we need to look at, but it's, as with anything economics here, I should know from my college studies on it, there is no one thing and one simple answer, and anyone who tries to tell you such is probably trying to sell you something at the same time, because also this is not even just constrained here to the U.S. as much as certain economic policies can and should be pointed at. You may have heard about another factor going on about parity. It's not a phrase that usually comes up in the news, but parity between the U.S. dollar and the euro, which is not something that's happened, I believe, ever, if I'm not mistaken on that, ever since the introduction of the joint European Union currency. It had always been hovering somewhere above $1 in value. So that €1 worth multiple or parts of multiple dollars. Better way to put it, probably. But now that has apparently stopped. So that shows that not only are there domestic issues that definitely need to be dealt with, but international ones as well, which is all a long way to say that I don't think we've seen the end of this yet, even given those confusing indicators going on that are also sum total seeming to edge closer to that very concerning phrase, stagflation. If you ever want to see an economist or anyone who talks in the global economic or political sphere about economics, get the hair to really raise on the back of their neck, talk about, man, I'm worried about stagflation. Because that idea, that portmanteau of stagnation and inflation, because usually inflation means a level of it anyway, that we are seeing things to get better, that the economy is improving, there's more money out there, and therefore things are costing a little bit more, etc. But that's not exactly the reason we're seeing these situations now, is it? We saw those supply chain issues going on, which we're going to continue talking about, make no mistake. But we've also got there was more money put out there and in circulation out there, and therefore we got more dollars chasing less goods, which is a phrase I am positive y'all have heard before, or this is your first time, be prepared to hear a lot more about it, because monetary inflation and the supply is definitely an issue. RJ pointing out some of the other factors that are irking him, apparently, talking about how about gas up 60%, utilities up 38%, and food up 12% for a pretty average 30%. You feel me now, or you feel it? Yeah, it's going a lot. But again, whatever's going on with gas right now, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of the reports about it going down for the last 28 days, and sure, it's been inching downwards, but a stark drop, as can be seen with the wholesale price index, has not truly reflected in the pump just yet. So I'm very much anticipating that happening, hopefully. But whether or not it does, well, I won't hold my breath in the meantime in any case here. So those are just a few of the economic situations going on, plus just another one of those so fun for the rest of Texas anyway, situations involving the grid. Again, ERCOT once again calling for an easing up on usage. Set your thermostats higher, turn off lights you don't need, light and heavy industrial, maybe switch your production time between 2 and 9 p.m. Central. So from, a little bit before our show here today until into the evening here tonight. But thankfully, here in West Texas and in this time zone, you're not really going to be too much involved with it. Okay, conserving energy is always a good idea, if only because of your bottom line and what's going to cost you in your next month's bill. But we're also, again, on that separate grid. Thankfully, one of the many reasons I am ever so slightly grateful that we are here in West Texas and the borderland. RJ laughing out loud at the idea of gas down. I mean, it's come down a little bit. We're nowhere near the $2 range, but I actually did see a price starting with a 3 over the weekend. So it's possible. If you haven't thought about memberships, no, we're not sponsored by them, but I would recommend it fully myself there to some of those bulk buying clubs, shall we say, that often have gas attached with them. Yeah, not be a totally bad idea here. One other issue I want to mention, because honestly, I was mildly surprised about it myself. I kind of called the shot that this issue involving that recent city council vote, in light of the overturning of Roe v. Wade from the Supreme Court vote and the state level changes that are, if we're not already in it now, depending on I've lost track of the state level court cases that have happened ever since the Supreme Court one about will trigger laws, won't they? Will previous ones in place, won't they? I've lost track of that. But, of course, El Paso City Council had that very controversial vote last week about what is going on and what should they do when it comes to local enforcement of said statutes. And now the Texas Democrat Party chair has actually, weighed in on this in a letter dated today addressed to Mayor Oscar Leeser and the city of El Paso, titled, "Regarding your decision to deny constitutional protections to women in the city of El Paso." The let's call it 2.5-page document here. Says, "Dear Mayor Leeser, after much thought and reflection, I feel it is necessary to express my deep disappointment in your recent decision to refuse the direct law enforcement authorities in the city of El Paso to not prosecute, arrest, or investigate women in your city who exercise their constitutional right to make decisions regarding bodily autonomy." And a lot more to get there. I mean, it's page and a half here. The real, I think, impacting one you might see in headlines anyway, is the closing line of the letter saying, "I no longer support your tenure as mayor of El Paso." Now, anyone who might be mildly confused, because of course, city of El Paso elections are nonpartisan, but that does not mean that partisan infrastructure can't be used for it. I know some out there call it cheating, but it happens everywhere else than here. El Paso's weird in that regard. I'll be perfectly honest with you. So this could have some implications. That there's been even a further move, at least locally, if not totally statewide, within the Democratic Party establishment anyway, to look at censuring or otherwise reprimanding representatives who also voted against the measure that we talked about there, again, happening last week. So as much as I said it at the time, this bears it out that don't think this issue is done yet, and or at least the fallout from it has not ended yet either. So a lot more comments coming in there about that as well. And that's just one of the things we're looking at today, because the political issues and economic issues also swirl around the county as well, though to a very different degree and with different subjects, of course, here. UMC is not far from, well, anyone taxpayers' mind lately anyway, or at least anyone that have been paying attention. So you all, essentially. Definitely a lot more discussion about that, and we're going to be checking with Estefania Seifert with our news partners over there at KFOX-14 about some new motions coming on, some more information being put out, and what really trying to drill down into the facts about what this could mean, and again, what that money being asked for, that $300 million plus, not to exceed $400 million, according to the documentation filed, will mean here. So yeah, we'll get into that and also some more of her investigative reporting. So taking us right through that first break of the hour here right now. Another feeling mildly whirlwind day today, but we'll get some more of the comments as well coming out of this break. But again, stay tuned. Talking with Estefania Seifert, investigative reporter with KFOX-14 after this break. And stay tuned for more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere. You know, and I know that we talk about a lot of things on this program, sometimes fun, sometimes funny, and sometimes funny for the wrong reasons, among other things. But really, when it comes down to it, I hope you're staying informed, but also taking care of yourself in a lot of ways, because, I mean, as we talk about the many issues, something about, well, making sure you're still living your life and enjoying it to the fullest is important as well. Make no mistake. And something that I use to try and make the time that I have with my family, particularly around the dinner table, that much more enjoyable is the great supply of extra virgin olive oils, flavored olive oils, and balsamic vinegars from our friends over there at Enhanced Flavors, because they're your local source from some of the best varieties from around the world, imported straight for you. So you don't have to go out of town to find it either. You can get it straight to your door by finding them online at enhancedflavors.com. That's enhanced with a D, flavors.com. Some of the varieties they got here you don't want to miss out on, like there's this one, the Dalk balsamic vinegar Mediterranean blend, honey, fig, and pistachio. If you haven't tried something like that, or you're thinking, how the heck would I use that? Putting on a little bit of bread, a little bit of meat on top of it, you can make something really simple, or spice up and really take to the next level what you're already cooking. Even if you don't know about to use that one, I am guaranteeing you they've got something that you can use with what you already make great and make it that much better and really help spice up your life. Again, their supply, all of it, over at enhancedflavors.com. That's enhanced with a D, flavors.com, or find them out in the community, often out these days at the Country Club Farmers Market. But in any case, all the details, all the information, and even more than I've mentioned here over on their website, enhancedflavors.com. That's enhanced with a D, flavors.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On Joe Battle Boulevard, northbound at Montwood Drive, there's a crash with injuries. Gateway South CD lane, southbound at Montana, an accident. That's blocking the exit ramp. I-10 eastbound before Executive Center Boulevard, a semi-truck is involved in a fire. Stop-and-go traffic on the 10 westbound between Trans Mountain and Las Muchas. Roadwork's got the right lane closed, and it's causing a backup. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Our American Stories podcast.
Did you know that it was a boy from Memphis, Tennessee who founded Holiday Inn? And doing so changed the hotel industry as we know it. Be sure to listen to this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The job market is competitive right now, so you need to be competitive to attract top talent. If you're trying to fill open positions at your business, iHeartMedia is here to help. Use radio and digital targeting to find fresh, passive candidates currently in the workforce. These candidates are listening right now, looking for new opportunities. Together, we can let the community know you're hiring. Visit iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
Maybe you've had to put off a health appointment or two during the COVID-19 pandemic, but if you're 45 or older, there's one test you shouldn't put off any longer. That's your regular screening for colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer is the leading cancer killer, but can be prevented with regular screenings starting at age 45. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. It takes guts to put your health first. Ask your doctor about your options today and visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
Hey, it's Mario Courtney Lopez, and we know life is better together.
Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to make life's moments amazing.
We are all getting together more, and Smart Mouth's 24-hour power of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day keeps us from worrying about bad breath in those up-close moments.
Go to smartmouth.com/radio to save 20% or find Smart Mouth at your favorite store to give you confidence as we get closer to each other.
Remember to make life's moments better together with Smart Mouth at smartmouth.com/radio.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, beat the largest timeshare company in federal court and has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-738-9900. That's 800-738-9900.
Why should you volunteer with Meals on Wheels? I never thought that 5 minutes could make so much difference in the lives of 2 people, but it has. Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org. Brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link at kcsmradio.com. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Welcome back here to Talk El Paso, airing on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media outlets, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Find us under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk on most of those platforms here. So a lot of issues we're talking about here today, and we'll continue our discussion on those. But also joining us in studio here, as we have most Wednesdays, we do have Estefania Seifert, investigative reporter with our news partners at KFOX-14. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely happy to have you, because we've got a lot of big questions that take a lot more than just a day-turn story going on. And so the investigative work you do is something that I always find myself looking at. And as we get to talk about on the show, so much the better here. Of course, we've got some more of your reports coming out that we'll talk about in a little bit. But one of the biggest questions that has been really being demanded to have stuff dug into has been UMC, that proposed $346 million expansion, certificates of obligation, that we are on that countdown clock for. The actual time given for it will be September 12th, will be the meeting of the County Commissioners Court that will be the one to decide about the actual issuance of certificates of obligation. So again, we are in that countdown here, about a month and let's call it 2 months away here at this point. So getting there. But of course, some of the questions about how and exactly what's going to be done there continue to swirl around. And so one of the things that has actually come out as of, this week actually, has been a new website that UMC is putting forth to try and answer some of these questions, capacityforcare.com. So what are some of the key things that you're seeing about the way they're talking about it now?
So remember, we had talked about how during their presentation, they had outlined what they were going to do as far as their outreach, because that is a big component in all of this. That's why they're given the 60 days. Then in those 60 days, they are supposed to be going out into the community, doing outreach, letting people know why they want these certificates of obligation. And so this website is basically just a part of that whole outreach plan or communications plan to get more people informed about the certificates of obligation and exactly, where that money would be going.
Again, from UMC, what they are talking about at the El Paso County Hospital District Capacity for Care Bond Request is the way it is being put there, and lays out some things. It's a bit more expanded than the one sheet that had been previously sent out, more as a essentially a news release. So a little bit more in depth, but again, very much this is why you should be in favor of it kind of thing coming out from UMC and the El Paso County Hospital District. Anything mildly surprising there? I guess some of the phrasing is interesting because, as we were talking about, it's been out before. Again, bond request is an interesting way to put it, but also a phrase that I feel like has been out there, and I know you've reported on it, but may not have been as public-facing previously as calling it, just quoting directly from the site here, UMC is El Paso's only safety net hospital, meaning the hospital provides care to all who come to it. So that has been a core part of the mission, but I don't feel like maybe it was that explicitly stated, at least again, public-facing previously.
Right. So UMC has said that it has a commitment as a safety net hospital, as it refers to itself as, to offer treatment and care for people regardless of whether they're able to pay for it or not. And so that is what safety net hospital means, is that they are still going to provide care even if people don't have insurance. And so previously we had spoken about how I did a story on the debt, if you will, that the hospital has in uncompensated care, which is exactly the care that they give patients who don't have insurance. And so for 2021, it was at $556 million. And so when UMC talks about being a safety net hospital, that is to them something that they're very proud of, that they're able to offer this service to the community. And in the process, what they've brought up that I've noticed recently, especially even now that they're proposing these certificates of obligation, is that they are seeing that people with insurance are going to UMC. So what UMC is saying is that they are now seeing more people go to UMC because of the services that they're providing. And these people are able to pay for these services. And so that is what is helping pay for some of the uncompensated care. Now, the uncompensated care is also paid for by or with our property taxes. It's 8.5 cents of a tax dollar. And of that, 14 to 15% of the total revenue line is what is represented with that. So that basically means that our property taxes aren't enough to pay for the debt and uncompensated care that the hospital has. So what does the hospital do about it? Well, the hospital then tries to offer, it calls it unique services, right? To be able to make up the rest of that money. So they do that with the mobile stroke unit, with the neighborhood clinics, the cardiac care center, and electrophysiology lab. So these are the unique services that UMC is offering to people who do have insurance. And because they're able to pay for that and they're able to get money into the hospital, that money also helps pay for the uncompensated care. So I think, there was a little confusion there, I think, with some people as to, I guess, who this expansion would be catering. And I think it's more so that UMC is realizing that as El Paso grows, more and more of their patients are people with insurance. And so they're trying to cater to them by offering unique services where they don't have to be going out of town to get care.
Again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is Estefania Seifert, investigative reporter with our news partners over there at KFOX-14. You want to find out that story we're talking about, the one about uncompensated care, or any of her recent or upcoming reports here, you can find those over on KFOX-TV.com. Just hit that KFOX-14 Investigates tab under the either search bar or under the news bar there. So that uncompensated care, a lot of questions have continued to come up about that. So the balance of it is, I think, critical to people. And more than a couple of questions have come up on what exactly is the balance in terms of, strict demographics. A lot of questions coming out about the, non-citizens, particularly people coming over from Mexico or, here illegally, that kind of a care. So when we're talking about that, that's already baked into, and again, that $556 million figure, that is for 1 year. That's not like a cumulative amount, right?
That is for 2021. And actually, in that article that you referenced, I do have a breakdown of what the uncompensated care charges were for 2017, 2018, 19, and 20. If you all want to take a look at that, it has grown. Obviously it started in 2017 with 428 million. Now we're at 556 million for 2021. So it'd be interesting to see what we're at for 2022.
Yeah, of course, because that'll have a lot of the other calculations we're doing, including with like the CPI numbers and else coming out today. But one of the critical things out of this, again, with the question about essentially, undocumented or illegal crossers, as part of this is it's not really the actual demographics of those in this uncompensated care is not something that is broken down, right?
No. So, I mean, when I originally did this story, it was more so the breakdown of here's overall what the charges are of uncompensated care, right? And any further breakdown as far as specifically was this person didn't have insurance and this is this person's nationality or this person's demographic or this person's gender. That's not information that I obtained. And I'm not sure if the hospital does keep record of that. That's something that I'll definitely follow up on and see if I can get that answer for you all.
Because I think that'll be an important one and one that keeps coming up here. But essentially what we're looking at here, and I don't think has been much talked about, is that really the services, this expansion is going to be towards what otherwise would be considered, I guess, self-supporting services. But there's also got this serious, just based on the community that we're in, issue of a lot of uncompensated care. So it's not exactly going towards subsidizing it, but rather dealing with the issues the hospital has with that, offering. So again, essentially, you could think of what they are putting forth with this, again, on the website, finding it the bond request, the way they're putting it, the certificates of obligation at capacityforcare.com for people to see it for themselves is, well, essentially to increase the balance sheet on the positive side of it by putting through, again, critical care beds, surgery, capacity expansion of stuff that does bring in revenue.
Right. Definitely. The cancer center, something that they want to bring in to attract, more patients, or even for patients here in El Paso to not have to travel out of town. Also the critical care bed capacity at both UMC and El Paso Children's. So, when they explained this in the meeting, they said that they're trying to keep up with El Paso's growth and that they don't want to be left behind or stay stagnant. And then when these upgrades really are needed, then they find themselves in a position where it's like, this is going to be an extremely hefty amount that we just can't, ask for anymore. And so they're trying to get ahead of the game, if you will, by trying to get these done now. Trying to add that central neighborhood clinic, just because there's not one in that area. We had talked about how UMC said that that's where they find the highest number of elderly patients in El Paso is in the central El Paso area, which is why they want a neighborhood clinic there. There's that breakdown. Obviously, that website breaks it down even further. It has an area where you can submit comments, you can read people's comments, people's questions. I think it's just another part of their outreach to let people know, what exactly this means. I mean, this is a few weeks in and there's still confusion. So definitely the more information that they're able to put out and the more people are informed, the better it is for that September 12th vote, where commissioners could either vote to give them these certificates of obligation or have it be put on the ballot so that voters end up deciding through a general obligation bond.
And just given the way Commissioners Court has voted to this point and the breakdown that did happen in that initial meeting to set this timeline, I think that is a question that we'll have to keep an eye on and see how it continues to develop as we get closer again to that September date here. Again, joining us here in studio right now is Stephanie Seifert, investigative reporter with our news partners at KFOX-14. We got to take that next break right now. So coming out of this break, we'll keep talking with Estefania here and get into more of the points on some of the other investigative reporting going on. So stay tuned for more on Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hi, I'm Erica Castillo with your KFOX-14 News Update. A gas leak in East El Paso was reported just before noon today. It happened at about 11:26 on Frank Cordova Circle, that's near Montwood High School. Construction crews apparently damaged a gas line, according to the El Paso Fire Department. A total of 4 homes had to be evacuated as a safety precaution. The gas company is there repairing the leak. And surging prices for gas, food, and rent catapulted U.S. inflation to a new 4-decade peak in June, further pressuring households and likely sealing the case for another large interest rate hike by the Federal Reserve, with higher borrowing costs to follow. Consumer prices soared 9.1% compared with a year ago earlier. The government says the biggest 12-month increase since 1981, and it's up from an 8.6% jump in May. On a monthly basis, prices rose 1.3% from May to June, another substantial increase after prices had jumped 1% from April to May. Though inflation is likely to slow later this year, it's it's not clear by how much. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Summer-like heat has finally moved back into the borderland, and that means temperatures as we go into the weekend could even soar into the lower 100s. So please be mindful of what you're doing during the day and try to avoid those heat-exposed illnesses and make sure those pets are also being taken care of. You can log on to KFOX-TV.com for the latest weather reports.
This report is sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance, where you only pay for what you need.
Liberty. Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Have you thought about getting dental implants? Has someone told you that dental implants cost $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 per tooth? Please do not pay that much money. Instead, go to 1995implants.com, the El Paso dental office where beautiful, top-quality, long-lasting dental implants are as low as $1,995 per tooth, including the implant, abutment, and crown. Plus, we offer a free consultation with the dentist, free standard x-rays, and convenient financing plans to fit your budget. At 1995implants.com, dental implants are very affordable. So, get rid of your cracked teeth, missing teeth, and loose old wobbly dentures and get the amazing new smile that you've been wanting. 1995implants.com is conveniently located right here in El Paso. For more information, please see our website, 1995implants.com. That's 1995implants.com. Se habla español.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso. Weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. And let's talk El Paso.
Is it time to call for the impeachment of Joe Biden? Coming up on the Ben Ferguson podcast all week, we're going to take a look at the millions of barrels of oil sold to Chinese companies directly tied to Hunter Biden. For all the details, download the Ben Ferguson podcast now.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson podcast.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day.
I don't watch television, so I get all my news from you.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. A lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
That's just one adoption story that started at a shelter. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Stay tuned and stay informed with News Radio 690 KTSM, an iHeart radio station. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Welcome back here to Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Comments coming in over there, and we'll get to more of those here in just a bit. But also open up that phone line a little bit towards the end of the segment as we do. But again, joining us here in studio, sticking around with us right now, is Estefania Seifert, investigative reporter with KFOX-14. Thank you very much for joining us and sticking around with us here today.
Yes, of course. Hey, everyone.
So we were talking a bit before about some of your previous reporting, but we've got, of course, have more reports coming out now. Something that we mentioned kind of sparely yesterday as it came out, well, at the start of the week here, but this new effort, or renewed effort, I guess, depending on how you look at it, to illuminate Mount Cristo Rey, done by, of course, your colleague Erica Castillo, is an interesting one, and people of a particular age or who have been in town for long enough may recall that there were previous attempts here, but what is this new one being focused on?
Right. So basically, like you mentioned, bring back a light to Mount Cristo Rey. The lights, from my understanding with what's happening here, is they're being donated by Mountain Star Lighting, and they're looking for a donor for solar panels. Of course, this will be discussed in a meeting on Tuesday because they're trying to figure out funding and how exactly the logistics, basically, of exactly how it would work.
And of course, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts with that. I've been familiar with some of the people involved with the Mount Cristo Rey Restoration Committee for years now. And of course, this site has a lot of facets to it. Of course, it's a pilgrimage site that has been having different uses over recent years just due to restrictions and lack of people wanting to go out. But supposedly coming back in full force here as we've been emerging largely from it. But of course, even just the management of it is interesting because there are a couple of key entities involved in here. Of course, the Diocese of Las Cruces, which owns the land and, hosts the pilgrimages and such, but also then the Restoration Committee of Mount Cristo Rey, the ones that are really putting in the heavy work and heavy lifting of keeping it usable, manageable, and making sure that it's able to have the pilgrimages go out there. There's a certain level of concern there about how this will work, also given the very important, again, physical and religious purpose with it.
Right. Also, collaborating with the city of Sunland Park, and with a couple of, at least one representative I know that is trying to work with that lighting company, Mountain Star Lighting, to try and illuminate Mount Cristo Rey. Like you mentioned, it's been an effort that they've tried in the past. And so I think it'd be interesting to see what comes out of this meeting as far as, what the plan is, also how to do it in a way that's, respectful of the statue that's there, the figure, and all of that is expected to be addressed in this meeting happening on Tuesday.
Yeah. So Tuesday, that'll be interesting to look at there because, of course, I mean, it's an important and very visible monument for a lot of people here in town. And so I think if it can be figured out how to make all of this work and actually keep it working, because it's mentioned in the story here, people find it online, KFOX-TV.com, that the old light installation was vandalized, which is a minor understatement in my mind. It was essentially dismantled. So the security concerns also come to mind here. So be very interested to see how these meetings progress here, because it would look great if it can be done effectively while meeting all of these needs here. So we'll have to check in further and see how that meeting goes, check in with some of our friends over there at the Restoration Committee. But of course, that isn't the only reports we have coming out. You have one that is going to be coming up tonight, right?
Yes. So a lot of people have run into issues when they're calling El Paso Water, long wait times, trying to get through a customer service rep. And so my story tonight is a breakdown of the call logs, at least for the month of May and part of June, to see exactly how long people have been waiting on the phone for. And what El Paso Water is suggesting, there are 4 things you can do if you haven't been able to get a hold of a representative. And so I'll break that down, and hopefully that helps and clear up whatever issue or concern you all had when you're trying to call El Paso Water. But this really is because they have a staff shortage.
Right. And it's very timely here. We've had a caller yesterday, actually, very worked up about this particular issue here and wanted to know what can be done here. So again, got to definitely direct people to your report. They'll be airing tonight on KFOX 14 News at 9, and with the web story on there, by the next day, right?
Yes, of course. The web story will be up by the time that it airs on the newscast. So if y'all want to check that out tonight, that will also be available. Talks about, the recruiting efforts that El Paso Water is undertaking, basically to the increase in salary so that they can attract more customer service reps so that people aren't waiting for so long. There's another reason why the call volume has increased is because they switched over to a new system. So we talk about all of that in the report and how to navigate that if you're having issues with that.
And of course, that is your news story coming up. But then we had previewed last week your other one that was coming out about SNAP benefits and everything going into those here. And again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is Estefania Seifert, investigative reporter with KFOX 14 and our news partners over there. You want to see her upcoming or previous reports there. Again, find them over at KFOX-TV.com. Just look under the KFOX 14 Investigates tab here. So the SNAP benefits, as we're just talking about, some basic needs and services here. Water, your upcoming one, but of course with the basic food needs for those that are on those level of benefits, that has been having, as you were reporting last week, a lot of delays.
Yes, people waiting at times 2 months, if not longer, for their benefits to either be approved or renewed. And so I found out that what they're doing to try and expedite the process is they are waiving the interview requirement. People are no longer going to be interviewed before they basically are approved for the benefits. They're hoping that that's going to help speed up the process, because right now they've been able to process like 74% of those applications within a 2-week period. And when I've spoken with people, that was the case before. In the past, they typically just had to wait about 2 weeks, and now they're waiting months. And since this story ran, I've been having so many emails and calls from people with, their own stories of, for me, it's been this long, and these are the problems I'm going through. This is why this is extremely important for me to be able to have these benefits approved. And really what they're having to go to the food bank right now, while they wait for these benefits to be approved, or for there to be some sort of update on the status of their application.
And that, of course, we've talked about with the food bank recently, of course, with Susan Goodell, CEO of the El Pasoans Fighting Hunger Food Bank, about what they've been seeing here and how, frankly, a lot of people would prefer not to have to go to the food bank. And so this is a contributing factor to it. One question that had come up when we previewed this last week was about that there is federal funding for this program, and it is to have federal bases, but we're talking specifically about the state level processing here, because it is approved through the state of Texas, then on the individual level, right?
Right. So these, so I took these concerns to Austin, so right to the state, to find out what the delay was in the El Paso office. And yeah, I mean, they're seeing this statewide. It's not just here in El Paso where there's a delay. I think a staff shortage also contributes to that. And so I think what they're trying to do is put out these waivers or maybe these extensions to help people out in the process while they try and get through so many of these applications.
So again, one of the many challenges being faced right now here. So of course, you got your report coming out tonight and the previous ones over on the website. If people want to get a hold of you, like you mentioned, taking those emails and doing things like that, we'll put up some of your contact information, but what's the best way you recommend people to do so?
Well, email, I'm always checking my email, and I feel like that's where I've gotten the most tips from. So it's EYSEYFFERT@KFOX-TV.com. If you follow me on social media, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, you can also message me through there.
And of course, we'll have those links posted up here over on our social media in the comments section. So check out for that, both for her Facebook as well as the email there, because you are decently responsive to even some things just from this program here.
Yes, of course. A lot of the stories I've done recently have been from story tips that you all have given me. So please keep them coming. I appreciate them. And hopefully we can keep that momentum going.
Absolutely here. So again, guest right now has been Estefania Seifert, investigative reporter with our news partners over there at KFOX-14. Again, the stories, if you want to find her previous or upcoming one, you go over to KFOX-TV.com and look under the KFOX-14 Investigates tab here. So Estefania, thank you very much for coming by and checking in with us as we do most Wednesdays about your work and big stories going on in the community.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Absolutely happy to have you on here. So we got to take that next break right now. So coming out of this break, we will go ahead and open up those phone lines as we do at this point during the show. That number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso. You're on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
That earlier two-vehicle accident on Gateway South CD Lane, southbound at Montana Avenue, has closed the exit ramp. I-10 westbound at Reynolds, a disabled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. An injury accident, Dyer, northbound at Hercules. And another crash with injuries on Executive Center Boulevard, eastbound at the 10. Also, roadwork has the right lane closed Gateway west at Geronimo. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If your business is feeling a summer hiring wave, then you need Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
You should be able to earn money with your money and with more control. Solo Funds makes it simple. With the Solo Funds app, you lend money to other members to help them replace a tire or cover an emergency expense, and they pay you back with a tip. It's a win-win. Plus, you control which loans you fund and when you fund them, so you can make a difference and a return. Join us. Download the Solo Funds app on the App Store or Google Play Store.
Hey Texas, this is Eric Burton. And I'm Adrian Casada, and we are Black Pumas. We've partnered with Don't Mess with Texas to turn up the message to keep Texas clean. So come on, join hands and let us be united. Let's all do our part in taking care of our beautiful state roads. It's time to step up. Together, we can keep Texas litter-free. Don't mess with Texas, y'all. Peace.
Individual
Actual results may vary. There's no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Invest wisely.
Paid for by Chaikin Analytics. Introducing Mark Chaikin.
I'm the guy you're supposed to hate. I spent 50 years on Wall Street where I helped create the entire stock rating system. And I'm here to tell you a very strange day is coming to America. In short, a massive and surprising new transition could soon determine the next group of millionaires while leaving 99% of the public even worse off than before. But if you want to be on the right side of the huge new shift I predict is coming to the market, you absolutely must consider buying one particular type of investment now before it's too late. And no, it's not cryptocurrencies. I just posted the biggest prediction of my 50-year career, along with the name and ticker symbol of the #1 investment to buy right now. For the first time ever, I'm handing these details not to the Wall Street elite, but to you.
To get the full story, plus the #1 investment to buy right now, go to investingprediction.com/radio. That's investingprediction.com/radio to learn more, free of charge. Investingprediction.com/radio.
Did you know that it was a boy from Memphis, Tennessee who founded Holiday Inn, and doing so changed the hotel industry as we know it? Be sure to listen to this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days. A lot of ways to interact with the show. Got the social media, again, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, at either Andrew J. Polk or Talk El Paso. You can find us there, including the link we just promised to post up there. And a lot of people chiming in: RJ, John Brazelton, Flaco Jimenez, EFR, Andrew Zignorant, RJ, if I didn't say that already, Kevin Williams, Steve Ivy, Louis Pinato, Kathy Codry, Maria Coleman. Quite the busy day over there. Steve Ivy as well. Just a lot of conversations because we're touching on a lot of topics here today. At least on the Cristo Rey story there. EFR saying it's nice that they want to light up Cristo Rey, but what about our streets? I think the priority should be geared towards just replacing the decrepit streets and not just patching it up. Have you driven the streets around UTEP? These streets are used more than having to view Cristo Rey at night. I'm not saying you're wrong. There are many streets that I have particular issues with, but I don't think you're getting angry at the right people here. This is nothing to do with, they might be involved eventually, but municipal governments, particularly since this part is in New Mexico. Talking about a donation there, though there are some concerns to be had, as Louis Pinato said a little bit earlier, that they could also steal solar panels from Cristo Rey. And some of the people I've talked with previously on the Mount Cristo Rey Restoration Committee, let's just say they're going to be very interested in seeing this plan and those meetings coming up here, because addressing those issues will be kind of paramount for any such an issue, unless we're talking about like spotlights from like the Franklin Mountains on it, which would be an interesting idea. If problematic, you get the wind blowing that off a little bit, you maybe just blinded a flight coming out of here. It's fraught with issues. So I'll be very, very interested myself to see those issues resolved, if they can be, because anyone who's ever been out to Cristo Rey, you've seen at the bottom and the base of the mountain and trail there's a number of signs saying essentially at your own risk, because the border security situation in that area is unique amongst many places I can think about regionally anyway. So don't just take a day hike out there without some proper precautions in a variety of ways. The pilgrimage days are the ones I can recommend most, because they've taken those precautions for you, among other things here. Some other conversation about help wanted signs here. John Brazelton saying, well, the help wanted signs, it's almost impossible to not have a job if you don't want one. And what I would say actually for that is that sometimes, particularly RJ kind of making the point here, do I get the freelance rate for tips, is that there are sometimes people who are on jobs and have jobs who still end up needing SNAP assistance, which is a whole nother conversation to be had, frankly, for you here. Kathy Codry also saying, I think ALP has bigger issues to deal with. Sure, but this one would be a very noticeable one if it happened. So again, part of a special report from our news partners over there. And don't worry, we'll keep talking about here. Yeah, Flaco Jimenez getting more or less the right idea. Take your friends Smith and Wesson. And even then, just saying, I would stick with the pilgrimage days is the best advice I can have. It's a great trail, beautiful vista, and just make sure you're keeping it safe there. But Kevin Williams also commenting on the situation involving El Paso Water. I like the callback feature when the lines are busy, and when they call you back, you are still on hold for more than 30 minutes. Yeah, there's some issues there. So again, be sure to tune into her story. Again, to Stephanie, thanks to her for being with us here from our news partners at KFOX-14, and check out her story coming up tonight on KFOX-14 News at 9 here. We got a lot more comments coming in over on there. One last one I'll get to before this next break here. We have a comment saying citizens without insurance are allowed to apply for medical assistance. Non-citizens should be sent back to their home countries when stable. This is a safety valve for non-residents. Homeowners should not be strapped to make up the deficient. Senior taxes are not frozen for UMC or community college. Our resident population is not increasing. This is contrary to their logic requiring a larger facility. I mean, yes and no. Yes, about the taxes part of it here, but El Paso's population is increasing, albeit nowhere near at the rate of the rest of Texas. I know that's sometimes the takeaway. We grow at about 8%, which is not nothing, but when the rest of Texas grows at about 16%, yeah, it's easy to feel like the stepbrother who got outstripped by his other brother growing 2 inches in the summer when you grew 1 inch. So perspective is important here. And I think really the story and the interesting part about this is that they're really looking at not exactly subsidizing, but focusing more on those revenue generating parts of it. But whole lot more conversation to come on that. That's going to take us through the break at the end of the hour here. But don't worry, of course, we'll be back for the next hour of Talk El Paso right after this break and the top of the hour news. If you're wanting to chime in on the show, more comments already coming in, and we'll keep getting to those as well. Plus, that phone line now open, so if you want to get on the line there during the break, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Lots of stuff going on today, and we'll keep delving into it. The second out of the program after this break and the top of the hour news here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
That earlier two-vehicle accident on Gateway South CD lane, southbound at Montana Avenue, has closed the exit ramp. I-10 westbound at Reynolds, a disabled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. An injury accident, Dyer, northbound at Hercules. And another crash with injuries on Executive Center Boulevard, eastbound at the 10. Also, roadwork has the right lane closed Gateway west to Geronimo. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Almost 3 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner that helps flush out airborne germs with powered suction. But what do doctors have to say about Navage? Here's Dr. Tonya Farmer, a board-certified ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Most airborne allergens and viruses enter through your nose. When that happens, it can cause congestion and irritation, and that just makes you feel miserable. You can get a cold, you can get flu, sinus infections, or even worse. Flushing your nose with a saline solution is the most effective way to flush all of those dangerous threats out of your nose. So now when patients come in my office, I tell them I highly recommend that you use Navage on a daily basis for overall good health and wellness.
And Navage is all natural and drug-free at Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager, learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Children who grow up in poverty are part of a destructive cycle. At Child Fund International, we find this unacceptable. In 25 countries, we are vigorously fighting poverty and improving the lives of children and their families. Learn more at childfund.org.
News on the hour and the hat. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
Hey
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Soaring inflation is a clear and present danger to our economy. So said Senator Joe Manchin, and he was asked if President Biden was right to say the latest figures were outdated.
I would hope that he was right and that we wouldn't be, but that's the same people that might have given him information saying it was transitory.
The West Virginia Democrat is key to passing anything in the evenly divided Senate. He said the latest Consumer Price Index report is cause for serious concern. The CPI jumped 9.1% for the 12 months that ended in June. That kind of increase hasn't been seen since November 1981. The U.S. House is expected to pass an active shooter alert bill this evening. It would authorize Amber Alert-style warnings for active shooter incidents. Amber Alerts provide information about missing children. The measure was crafted after the recent wave of deadly mass shootings in the U.S. The FDA is authorizing a new COVID vaccine for adults. The Novavax shot is based on the same protein technology used in the hepatitis B and HPV vaccines, in contrast to Pfizer and Moderna, which are the first to use mRNA. Amber Heard's claim about a fraudulent juror in her defamation trial with ex-husband Johnny Depp is being denied by a judge.
Heard's lawyers filed documents claiming one of the jurors took the summons for trial from his father and that they share the same name. The judge said there was no fraud because the summons didn't include a birth date. Heard also tried to argue the $10 million in damages awarded to Depp in the trial was excessive, which the judge denied as well. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Former royal couple Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are visiting New York City next week. They'll be joining the UN General Assembly on July 18th to celebrate Nelson Mandela Day. Prince Harry is expected to be a keynote speaker. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. New York City's health department is taking heat for its monkeypox vaccine appointment system as demand skyrockets. Natalie Migliori reports.
The website has crashed at least twice in the past week. Health Commissioner Dr. Ashwin Vasan says the city is working to improve how appointments are made.
And we'll be announcing developments in the coming days about how New Yorkers can make appointments over a longer period of time. As you know, that's all a function of the amount of vaccine that we have.
Mayor Eric Adams says he and federal partners spoke about receiving more than 14,000 additional doses to curb the spread in New York City.
Amazon admits it has provided Ring camera footage to police without permission from the owners or a warrant 11 times this year. In a letter to Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey, Amazon's vice president of public policy said the company complied with law enforcement requests after determining risk in good faith. An Illinois father is complaining that his teen daughter was publicly humiliated at an amusement park outside of St. Louis.
The girl's dad says the 13-year-old girl was required to get on a scale before being allowed on a ride and was then told in front of everybody that she weighed too much. The ride has a limit of 200 pounds. The girl weighed in at 205, according to the girl's father, posting on Facebook. Andrew Batten says there is no weight limit posted at the entrance to the ride, and the girl waited in line a long time. He said she came down with tears in her eyes. Raging Rivers Water Park in Grafton, Illinois, says the weight limit is for the safety of all riders. I'm Wendy Wild.
Someone is extremely confident in the Kings not only appearing in the NBA playoffs for the first time in 17 years, but winning the whole thing. Caesars Sportsbook has taken a $10,000 bet on the Kings winning the 2023 NBA championship. If the Kings prove the better right, they could win an estimated $7.5 million. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Cash. That's cash. Enter it now.
This report is sponsored by the Our American Stories podcast.
While the American Revolution won the United States its independence from England, it wasn't until 2 years after the war ended that British troops left America. Be sure to listen to this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today. For good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org. M1EP.com. Superior multifamily property management services citywide.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. With millions of YouTube views, shares, Instagram likes, followers, and fans across the globe. But what do all these amazing pets have in common? Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a shelter or adoptable pets near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard? Well, that's entirely up to you. Visit theshelterpetproject.org and hear more about Hamilton the Pug, Toast, and Keyboard Cat's amazing adoption stories. Start a story, adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Your perfect pet is just a click away at theshelterpetproject.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. However you're tuning in, whether it be, well, all those methods we just mentioned, or any others, I'm sure there's probably some of the way that I haven't thought about. But if you're hearing us, you're already in the right place to stay informed about what's going on and affecting us here in the borderland. And also, well, the ways I mentioned anyway, are ways you can chime in with us and be a part of the show, because that interaction is what really drives me, among other things. I could talk about the stuff affecting us here in the borderland all day, more or less. Give me some breaks for like water and stuff in there. But if really what you all want to ask and talk about is important as well. So that number to call, phone line's open right now, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. A lot of comments coming in here over on the various social medias, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, and those dropping those likes and reacts over on the Facebook primarily. We do appreciate Flaco Jimenez, Monica Cervantes, Robbie Flores, Ida Beza Gardner, Calvin Williams, and Marky Mandingo. We've covered a lot of ground today, and a lot of comments have come in here. Kathy Godry saying 9.1% inflation, but feels more like 20%. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you on that finer point there. Referring there to, of course, the Consumer Price Index and that inflation year-over-year report out, which surpassed the expectations of 8.8% year-over-year to hit that 9.1, and topping charts of the last 40 years here. John Brazelton making the point here: if your property taxes go up, they will never go back down. It has generally been the case here, though. Yeah, we'll see what happens, because rates may technically be decreasing. Again, the first one, the proposed one that has come out from the city of El Paso, saying that they want to see a technical drop in the tax rate. But of course, given the light of how much taxes have increased on properties and because of the appraisal values here, yeah, it's not offsetting that entirely, so you can still expect to pay more there. The county next up, seemingly, but of course, we've got all those other areas and districts, and, well, let's just call it tax setting season is well in effect here, and we'll keep, of course, focusing on that here. But on the point about cities and such here, EFR asked me a question that I brought up, the point that Cristo Rey is in New Mexico, so now I have to ask, why is El Paso involved? Shouldn't the churches have fundraisers to accomplish this and not possibly the taxpayers? So in case there was any lack of clarity at all, we're talking about donations already as it is. A company, Mountain Star Lighting, wants to look at donating some of the things to light up Cristo Rey and are looking for further donations. There's going to be meetings going on involving the Mount Cristo Rey Restoration Committee. So the major questions I have are technical in nature, like how are you going to make sure it stays there? But to my understanding, there is no taxpayer involvement at this point, nor particularly expected, I guess you should say. So the history of why there is El Paso involvement when it's definitely in New Mexico is that, well, essentially, Cristo Rey exists largely because of people in El Paso. That's why, among other things, some of the Restoration Committee members are descendants of those that lived and worked in the Smeltertown area. If you want to be most technical of it, we might have to do an upcoming history show on this, to be perfectly honest with you, to lay that back out. But in general, there's not an expectation of the use of that, though, again, I have more logistical questions. Let me know if that answers your question there or not here. But a lot more a lot more comments coming in here as well, including Maria Coleman thanking again our guest from the previous hour, Estefania, about the El Paso water issue, saying that some northeastern cities have gone as far as placing liens on homes. I would not like this to be a reality in El Paso. Would fully agree with you there. I was recently reminded of, well, actually a case coming up recently, just to take your example a little bit farther, of Detroit, where due to overestimated, apparently, back taxes, like homes were foreclosed on, about 1 in 4 may have been overestimated how much was actually owed there. So yeah, that's a level of concern I would have as well. But a lot more comments have come in on all of the many issues we were talking about here today, including that city council issue on abortion, as well as UMC as well. Yeah, there's just so much more than I can get to. If you want to see the comments for yourself, again, Facebook is primarily where the comments come in, facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Well, it's where the Skeptic Squad assembles anyway, and where the Thunderdome comments come up here. And Kathy Code, be very focused on those groceries here, including $5 for an organic cauliflower. Sure, I definitely eat enough cauliflower to know that for sure here. I prefer other vegetables for the most part, but otherwise, yeah, if that's what you're wanting to, I can feel your pain, certainly here. So let's get back to those phone lines now. Again, if you wanted to chime in that way, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Raul in the Northeast on the line with us here right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. The other day, some of your listeners or commenters want me to talk about Trump policy. So we'll talk a little bit about Trump policy, okay? Now, Trump, who lost the popular vote, but became president because the undemocratic, anachronistic remnant of slavery, the Electoral College, and Putin's help, which he bent over to take, and having his kids meet with Russians at Trump Tower to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. Nonetheless, his most lasting impact on the country will be the reshaping of the federal judiciary. He installed 3 lying, radical, right-wing Supreme Court justices and 226 judges overall to the federal bench, all of these folks with lifetime appointments. As a matter of fact, by the end of December 2019, Trump nominees had made up of roughly about 25% of all U.S. Circuit Court judges, according to the Washington Post. His other big accomplishment, tax cuts for the rich. He dropped the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%, which resulted in record deficits and a ballooning national debt. Trump did not make America great again. Trump did not make Americans wealthy again. Trump did not eliminate poverty in America. He made the country sicker, poorer, and ever more divided. And he governed as if he had a mandate to overturn all of Obama's policies, which he did not. He lost the popular vote, even with Putin's help. And like his promise to repeal and replace Obamacare with Trump Care, which he said would cover everyone, regardless of pre-existing conditions, with lower premiums, lower deductibles, and lower copays, all paid by the government. Can you imagine he said that? What a nut. He had 4 years to implement Trump Cares, and it didn't happen. And it had it happened, we probably would have done better with the COVID, because of all the people who are uninsured. Immigration. He promised to round up and deport the 11 million illegal workers in this country, and that did not happen. He had 4 years to do it. He didn't do it. He promised to build a 2,000-mile long wall between the United States and Mexico. That didn't happen either. And he said Mexico would pay for the wall, and that didn't happen either. Okay? The trade deficit went up under Trump. And he did not get his lover, North Korean dictator Kim, to denuclearize. And he did not bring all the exported jobs back to America. And he did not end mass shootings in America. And finally, he planned and incited an insurrection and coup on the Constitution and Congress at the Capitol on January 6, 2021.
Okay, besides that last point there, with all the other things that you're noting that were campaign promises here that were not accomplished in 4 years, do you think, just honestly, reasonably, any of those could have been fully accomplished within and solely within 4 years? Again, reasonably at all actually completed?
Don't make promises you can't keep. He's a liar. He's a demagogue. He said crazy things that any sane person would have said, well, that's nutty.
And again, that's also, if you want to be a finer point about it, kind of what politicians do about making promises and then usually not following through with them. But to the larger point about, he didn't end up following through on them. It's also not exactly for a lack of, everyone's like, sure, let's see these things done. I mean, there was more than a little bit of consternation across party lines, shall we say, where some who are either unhappy with him as the president or because he was, essentially not of their party. So to say that there was, he could have gotten it done, but he couldn't, I think that's a finer point to make there. I mean, of course, you're entitled to your opinion on these things, but when we keep circling the drain or going in circles, better way to put it here, on some of these same issues, I think we'll move on there for today. So appreciate the point in the call for what it's worth. You hope you have a good one there. Let's go ahead and take that next break right now and get to more calls in the line. Again, those lines are open, so if you're wanting to chime in, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM is the number to call there. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. A lot of comments coming in. We'll check in on those as well. So, whole lot more to get to. Back after this break. Don't go anywhere. Again, talking about the serious issues that we get into, and we definitely don't shy away from. We do that for 2 hours every day, but for the rest of the time, taking care of yourself is also a pretty good goal to have in mind for yourself here. And where I go to accomplish at least the good grooming aspect of that is definitely our friends and official show sponsors for Hair and Beard, the official sponsors of that over at Gentleman's Republic Barber Salon and Men's Spa. Now, you'll be thinking about what do those terms mean? It's because they offer, of course, the traditional arts of barbering, including expert hair and beard grooming, but also the other things that you might, want to take advantage of in this modern day and age. I mean, there's a lot of reasons you might want to consider all aspects of good grooming, and there's not one I've thought about yet that they cannot handle for you over there at Gentleman's Republic. If you want to give them a call, schedule your next appointment. That number to do so is 915-532-3000. That's 915-532-3000. Truly one of the best ways in town I know of to get treated like a king for a day. Also find them online at gentsrepublic.com. That's GENTS Republic.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
An earlier crash on the Gateway South CD lane southbound Montana Avenue has the exit ramp still blocked. I-10 westbound at East Lake, disabled truck is blocking the right shoulder. Got two vehicles off to the right, I-10 westbound after Brown downtown. North Desert Boulevard still closed today, northbound between Artcraft and Trans Mountain, and South Desert is closed between Trans Mountain and Artcraft. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
Red Pilled America is the storytelling show everyone is talking about. This week, we reveal the agenda behind the phrase cultural appropriation and how it's being used to keep you in check. Listen to Red Pilled America every week on the free iHeartRadio app. That's Red Pilled America.
You should be able to earn money with your money and with more control. Solo Funds makes it simple. With the Solo Funds app, you lend money to other members to help them replace a tire or cover an emergency expense, and they pay you back with a tip. It's a win-win. Plus, you control which loans you fund and when you fund them, so you can make a difference and a return. Join us. Download the Solo Funds app on the App Store or Google Play Store.
If you're 45 or older, this message could save your life. Health experts now recommend starting regular colorectal cancer screening at age 45. Colorectal cancer is the leading cause of cancer death, but it's preventable through regular screening. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. You've got the guts to prevent colorectal cancer. Talk to your doctor about your options and visit cdc.gov/screenforlife for more information.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free. ziprecruiter.com/free.
Kids dream big. Protect your child's dreams by keeping them healthy. If your son or daughter is age 11 or 12, the American Cancer Society recommends giving them the HPV vaccine to help prevent HPV cancers later. Learn more at cancer.org/dreambig.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on our social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. At least that's the one I've posted on. If someone else posted elsewhere and you're seeing it there, let us know. In any case, we got a lot of comments coming in through there on the very many topics we're discussing today. Just to name a few, the inflation rate, local economics here, what's going on with some of those city council action, Uvalde fallout, continuing on there. Texans asked to be continue conserving UMC, Valkyrie Soray. Yeah, it's a full docket, as it usually is here on the program. So we also have those phone lines open, full up at the moment themselves. But if you want to squeeze in a little bit later, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. A lot of people tuning in, chiming in the very many ways we have the ability to do so here. So let's go ahead and dive back into those phone lines here right now. If you want to dive into the comments, YouTube and Facebook, some of them are more active here. But right now we do have Stephen on the east side with us right now. There, Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew, good afternoon.
Afternoon there. What's on your mind?
So, Andrew, I don't know if you've heard of this condition that people can get. It's long COVID. So sometimes people get COVID and the symptoms just seem to persist. And there's another phenomenon that people will get. It's called long TDS. So some people have this Trump derangement syndrome that persists for apparently years. And so that's Raul's diagnosis there. I'd like to educate him a little bit about the constitutional republic that we have, not a straight democracy. It's something that people are supposed to learn in high school civics class, sometimes middle school, where the founders were concerned about the possibility of something called tyranny of the majority. And they studied all kinds of governments around the world. And so they could come up with a system where they could avoid this problem of tyranny of the majority. And that's one of the reasons why we have the Electoral College. So a little education there for him. We don't have a straight democracy. It's not built that way. And then when it comes to taxes, the biggest tax revenue that the government brought in was in 2019, and that was after the Trump tax cuts. Studies have shown that most of those tax cuts did go to the middle class, and the government brought in, even after the tax cuts, more tax revenue than ever before. And that's how it works when the economy does well, when our country is doing well, when businesses are growing, the government ends up taking in more taxes because there is so much growth in business and profits to tax. So that's kind of how the tax system works. It's happened over and over, and leftists never seem to get it. And then finally, when it comes to accomplishments of Trump administration, whether he was able to complete everything he promised to do or tried to do, with no help at all from the Democrats and a lot of opposition, he did end up limiting significantly the crossings across the border, not because the Democrats were willing to help with it, but he was able to get the Mexican government to help us because the Democrats were refusing to do their part and help us limit this chaos that we have in the border. And as we can see, when Trump was removed and Biden started taking away all of Trump's policies, then that's when the chaos started to resume, I should say. So the long TDS is a derangement that I think will persist for many years to come with a lot of these leftists, and they want to blame everyone else but themselves for their failed policies. Thank you.
That's the thing. Thank you for the point in the call there. Do appreciate it. And I think it is something to be pointed out, frankly, that, well, okay, it is undeniable that there was not physical payments for any physical wall construction happening on this side of the border. That's not controvertible. But what I would argue is has been apparent in our area, or at least has been at certain points in time, that there was essentially the building of a virtual wall, policy changes, and significant investments in their own domestic policies done by previous Mexican administrations. I mean, AMLO has kind of continued on them, referring to the Mexican president there, Andres Manuel López Obrador, who has been visiting with the Biden administration as of this week after that notable snub, but that's more modern than what I'm talking about with that situation. As we discussed for a long time on this show, the complete revamping and rebranding of the Mexican National Guard, Guardia Nacional, as a border security force was essentially done entirely within the span of the previous Trump administration's term of office. So to say that there was no action done on that is not entirely true in my mind, because they really did do some major things on that, even if, again, more modern, current policies, I guess I should say, have varied ever so slightly since then. And we've come up with fun new phrases such as anti-migration. And yeah, we've done literal whole shows on this subject here. So yeah, I wouldn't blame anyone for not being fully up on this, because it takes us a while to get through them as well here. So again, thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it. Let's see if we can get to another one before we hit that next bottom of the hour break here. Again, the number to call if you want to get on the line is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Andrew on the west side here with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. Anyhow, I need to say that Mayor Leeser should be commended for his vote.
Referring there to the previous, again, that was item, I think, 3 on the city council work session agenda that was dealing with, in part, a lot of different policies on the city level about when it comes to enforcement or respect to or state laws when it comes to abortion and those kind of issues here. So again, as we brought that up in the first hour of the show, about now being essentially condemned and support. Again, just quoting directly from the letter now from Gilberto Hinojosa, Texas Democratic Party chair, saying at the end of his letter, "I no longer support your tenure as mayor of El Paso," addressed to Mayor Oscar Leeser and the city of El Paso.
Yes, I heard about that letter. But anyway, he should be commended because he's only following the law. The city council should not and must not engage in that type of action, okay, because it could legally be considered criminal abuse of official capacity. The only one that has the authority not to prosecute a case. Now, I'm not talking about arresting people. I'm talking about not prosecuting. That would be the district attorney's office, and they have prosecutorial discretion for various things.
Certainly, and that has come up even, I think, in the local area, a little bit of focus lately, shall we say, because there has been, well, among other things, many other major cases. We're looking at some question about priorities and such that have already come up here. But in general, of course, you're accurate there. That's the whether to pursue and set charges or not in any given area is, unless it is elevated to a higher court, etc., or different jurisdiction, more accurately, it is the discretion of the district attorney to move forward and look at the cases, make plea bargains, etc.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I would suggest to my Democratic friends out there, as Mr. Spock said, think with your intelligence and not with your emotions.
I think that's at least part of the argument that has been made here, but I mean, I cited the letter very briefly, mainly the major components of it. There's a lot more specificity that is being brought up in there, including about the way it was gone about and the personal opinions expressed along with this. So there's some posting of it, including over from, I believe, our news partners at KFOX-14. So it's anyone interested in this debate, of which there are a lot of people, I would encourage you to read the letter and then, well, learn from it what you can and then take your own conclusions, as I am sure, as I was previously, but even more so now, this issue will keep coming up, even just locally.
Yes, sir. Now, in response to Comrade Raul, I must say, okay, I don't agree with everything Trump did. I don't agree with January 6th. I will tell you this. Under Trump, I was not paying $5 a gallon for gas or close to it. Under Trump, I was not my taxes were rather low under Trump. I got money back in my pocket, and the border was controllable, or at least semi-controlled under Trump. Not like we have here, where now Mexican President Lopez Obrador is now giving people a 30-day pass just to come from the southern border, go up to the border of the United States. Something is not right there, Andrew.
Yeah, kind of the return to the as long as you're not stopping here, continue on your journey kind of thing that we saw pretty much in every previous my lifetime. Let's just call it that for short, because I'm not aware of any other time when that wasn't the effective policy outside of, the previous administration.
Yes, sir. Anyhow, I turn the mic over to you. Have a good afternoon.
No, you as well. Thank you for the point in the call. Hope you have a great one there, too. All right, so that's going to take us through the next break and the bottom of the hour here. So, again, if you're wanting to chime in on the program here with a lot of comments coming over on social media, we'll delve a few more into those, as well as those phone lines. Again, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after the short break and the bottom of the hour news updates here on News Radio 690 KTSM. But we'll be right back after that with more Talk El Paso. Don't go anywhere.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hi, I'm Erica Castillo with your KFOX-14 news update. A gas leak in East El Paso was reported just before noon today. It happened at about 11:26 on Frank Cordova Circle, that's near Montwood High School. Construction crews apparently damaged a gas line, according to the El Paso Fire Department. A total of 4 homes had to be evacuated as a safety precaution. The gas company is there repairing the leak. And surging prices for gas, food, and rent catapulted U.S. inflation to a new 4-decade peak in June, further pressuring households and likely sealing the case for another large interest rate hike by the Federal Reserve, with higher borrowing costs to follow. Consumer prices soared 9.1% compared with a year ago earlier. The government says the biggest 12-month increase since 1981, and it's up from an 8.6% jump in May. On a monthly basis, prices rose 1.3% from May to June, another substantial increase after prices had jumped 1% from April to May. Though inflation is likely to slow later this year, it's not clear by how much. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX-14 news update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
An earlier crash on the Gateway South CD lane, southbound Montana Avenue, has the exit ramp still blocked. I-10 westbound at East Lake, disabled truck is blocking the right shoulder. Got 2 vehicles off to the right, I-10 westbound after Brown downtown. North Desert Boulevard still closed today, northbound between Artcraft and Trans Mountain, and South Desert is closed between Trans Mountain and Artcraft. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX-14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Summer-like heat has finally moved back into the borderland, and that means temperatures as we go into the weekend could even soar into the lower 100s. So please be mindful of what you're doing during the day and try to avoid those heat-exposed illnesses and make sure those pets are also being taken care of. You can log on to KFOX-TV.com for the latest weather reports.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples has everything you need for school at prices that won't hold you back. Right now, Staples comp books and number 2 pencils are just 50 cents, and 2-pocket paper folders are just 25 cents each. In-store only. Offer ends 7/16. Limit 30. Don't send your kids back to school. Send them forward at Staples.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. Less than 1% of water on Earth is drinkable, and humans are using it faster than nature can replenish it. Reduce the amount of water you use in the bathroom by taking shorter showers and turning the water off while you brush your teeth. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
When it comes to shopping for windows and doors, we've done the research for you and only carry the best. Choose Milgard at the Window Depot. The pros at the Window Depot are here to help with an array of choices from Milgard. Everything from in-stock windows and doors to custom orders. Milgard offers vinyl, fiberglass, and aluminum products built to your specifications. Visit thewindow.depot.com to find a location near you. That's thewindow.depot.com. Our stores are open Monday through Saturday, but we also offer online ordering and no-contact delivery. The Window Depot, Arizona's largest supplier of Milgard windows.
On the next episode of The Truth with Lisa Booth, we're going to talk to one of the key players in uncovering one of our nation's biggest injustices in American politics. Kash Patel describes in detail the plot against President Trump on The Truth with Lisa Booth. Listen to the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This report is sponsored by the Truth with Lisa Booth podcast.
Next Thursday, you will be caught in an extreme flash flood.
Disasters don't plan ahead, but you can. Talk to your loved ones about making an emergency plan. Get started today at ready.gov/plan. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of comments coming in through all, if not most of those channels. So if you want to chime in on I guess Twitter's more of a direct message kind of thing, but hey, if you want to do it there as well, however it works for you, I guess is the real way I'm trying to say this here, because there's never going to be a quiz. No, you got to follow us over here or you're not going to be able to get us. We're out there in all the ways that we really can be in order to facilitate the discussion we have going on here and the many, many things we have going on in the borderland here. Maria Coleman with a comment a little bit earlier saying that the logistics of the lighting are ironed out, illuminating a religious statue. It's a lovely concept in an era of rejecting God and religious worship. We deserve to be commended. This is a project with positive endeavor, referring there to that potential for illuminating Mount Cristo Rey and specifically the Christ Redeemer figure at the top of it. The statue itself is an interesting history there worth looking into. And again, something we've done previously on other such programs as, say, the El Paso History Radio Show, just a quick plug there. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, and I'll be watching it with a level of curiosity because the logistics are very complicated a little bit, but a lot of other comments coming in as well, including commentary about this administration versus the previous one here. And yeah, also Uvalde, which is the fallout coming from that video release has been swift, fast, and furious, and I'm sure we're not heard the end of that as well. So a lot more comment, a lot more ideas coming in there over on the social media, more than I can even necessarily get to here within the full 2 hours of the show here. But let's go to those phone lines right now because we got those coming in as well. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Barbara on the west side here with us right now. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to respond to Frankie's comments yesterday on the rally January the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
He indicated Pelosi and them didn't have any power to call in the National Guard. Well, he's apparently not aware of the procedure, and I've discussed this before, and I would reference him to the June 11th, 22 podcast of Kash Patel. But in that podcast, Patel set out the procedure of exactly how it is and who gives the authorization to deploy the National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
And indicated that President Trump, several days before January 6th, and I want to ask everybody after I elaborate, does this sound like a president who is planning an insurrection? He signed an authorization which is given to the Secretary of Defense for 20,000 troops. Then the Secretary of Defense gives it to the Secretary of Army, and they go to the Capitol Police. Then the Capitol Police goes to the Sergeant of Arms of the House, which is Pelosi, and Schumer, which is the Senate. Both of them said no. They did not want the National Guard. Mayor Bowser sent a letter declining the National Guard. Then on January 6th, when they noticed they needed a guard, the National Guard, Pelosi asked for armored plate carriers, belt-fed machine guns, along with tanks. She said she did not want the security fence. And she said that numerous times before January the 6th. Now, does that sound like President Trump was planning an insurrection? In addition to that, a former FBI agent who was embedded in the crowd said that he had notified the FBI and DC that Antifa and BLM had been instructed to wear Trump hats and to wear them backwards and to blend in with the crowd. In addition to that, there's a journalist who recognized some Antifa individuals from the Portland riot, and she approached them and said, well, I know you. You were in Oregon. And they immediately got lost in the crowd. They didn't want her to report on them. So rather than Frankie and Raul, for that matter, being stuck on stupid, like they say, they should be concerned about recent activity in Michigan, where the state police, with the authority of the Secretary of State, seized tabulation voting machines. They indicate that there are credible allegations that warrant the confiscation of those machines, that third-party unauthorized individuals had access to them, and there may be more machines confiscated later on as the evidence grows. Then in Fulton County, Georgia, it was just reported that the numbers of cast votes sent in do not reconcile with the machine numbers, and Fulton County election officials can't explain it. So there are so many things out there that do point to something being done in our voting process in 2020 that was not honest, and it has affected the outcome of the election. So they should move forward to present day events, present day discoveries, and see if they can find anything that points to the contrary. And if they can't, for God's sake, open their eyes and see that we need to be figuring out what happened in these states that enraged the president. And I don't blame him for being enraged. I don't blame him for listening to other people's advice. Who wouldn't? We're talking about saving our country. But there's nothing that has been said since then till today, despite the January the 6th hearings, that have specifically found that President Trump ordered an insurrection or that he directed any activities related to an insurrection or gave strict instructions on how to conduct it or how to go in and get into the Capitol. I mean, there's nothing there. Why don't they stop the nonsense? And like I said, look at current events, what's coming out. Arizona has problems. Nevada has problems. Wisconsin has problems. I mean, there were problems. We need to admit that. At least admit there were problems because it wasn't a clean election. I just wanted to respond to Frankie because he does call in and, and Raul, they both call us names. They resort to name calling. But I would rather hear facts from them than, maligning us and being vile on the phone and just putting down our intelligence because we go out there and we analyze what we're reading and not just say what we want the outcome to be. I mean, I base everything I call in on what I've read and what's been reported, and it would be great to hear the two of them get together and do that rather than to just, try and shut us up because it's not going to work. Thank you, Andrew.
No, sure thing. Thank you for the point in the call there. Do appreciate it. I mean, okay, here's how I guess in general I feel about it is that, I think there are some reasonable questions to be asked about the 2020 election, particularly in reference to the most legitimate course of inquiry that I've been following has been about the state laws and how they were being dealt with in the immediate lead up to it there. If things were in law and then essentially put on hold in deference to the pandemic here, that I have the most issue of just about anything else, because if they're laws, but they're not laws until because of emergencies here, that's one that I've been most interested in. But to the general January 6th issue, we're getting a bit far afield for our midweekday conversation. But I'll say this is one of the many reasons I've been fully in favor of there being a full, complete investigation into this, of which I was concerned about, and I feel like that has been pretty well borne out, not been established by these hearings, the ongoing congressional hearings, because just simply put, it's not an investigation. A picture is being painted. I have there's no debate about that, but I think we can all see, the edges of the jigsaw puzzle have been already started here, and we can see what a picture that it is leading towards, the crescendo that they're clearly expecting here. I mean, this is not exactly intransparent. So we have an expectation of what's going to happen there, and I think we all know, or at least have a very clear idea of where that is leading. Again, painting a very bad picture of the previous administration. And justified or not, I don't feel that this is the investigation that we need into this and other questions. Because, yes, a particular political narrative is also coming along with this that, honestly, I have more issue with than anything else, because then if there are legitimate questions about who was supposed to do something at any particular point in time or had a duty to do so, it's now going to get clouded by that. So that's part of the issues I have with that as well here. So yeah, anyway, let's go back to a couple more calls in the line here so we can squeeze in. Again, the number to call 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Frankie and Messi on the line here with us right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
What is this mush? I just heard bewildered Barbara stating nothing but a ceramic vessel full of solid excrement, going on and on about this bad thing, that bad thing, and yet does not give any reference to where she found out this mush. What are you doing, Barbara? Listen to Alex Jones? Hey, how about news mucks? How about foul noise network and Tucker Clemson? Give it up, Barbara. You're so far out of the world, you're in another galaxy. Now, I want to complain to what I heard from Marco yesterday, complaining about you guys in Texas having to pay so much money for your water bill. Hey, welcome to the United States of America, a capitalistic system. If you've got money, you get. If you don't have money, you don't get. You understand how that works, Marco? That's what I want to say.
I mean, sure, there are definitely, the rich get richer kind of narrative that bears out. It's sometimes analysis varies on that, but I think the real issue Marco is bringing up, and is also, again, going to be further looked at, and the coincidences happen sometimes there about what we talk about on the show here and what investigations are going on. Stephanie Seifert's story tonight will be about the issues involving payment, both from the staffing issues they got going on. So sure, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with your main point about systems and who they're geared towards, but at a certain point also for a public utility that says, well, there's no real option here. There's no other water company you can go to here. The public service aspect of it needs to be paramount. So I think there are some reasonable questions to be asked about how well that service actually is. And again, I'll be sure to bring you some updates on that after the story here tomorrow on the show.
Oh, please do that. I'd love to hear that. Well, let me tell you how it used to be back in the old days. Back here in New Mexico, anyway. And even in New York, way back when. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. And if you're having a problem with water, Marco, or anybody else out there in Texas, let me tell you something. You just figure out a way to get around it. You don't sit there on the floor and go, wah, oh, poor is me. I have no water. Figure it out. You're a human. And if you're not a human, get off this planet. That's what I want to say.
All right. Well, thank you for the point in the call there. Do appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
I guess, complaining and doing nothing about it is a certain thing, but also if it's a mass issue, and there are some important points to be made there about how you can actually access it. If you don't have a smartphone or are not good with them or the internet technology, how can you deal with it? Because let's be perfectly honest here. This community, we have some of the poorest zip codes in the country continuing on. So expecting everyone to be up with the latest tech and have it available to them is not exactly reasonable in my mind. It's not a decision I would make if I were ever to be involved or in charge of some of these big organizations, corporations, etc. that we're talking about in our area, because that's one of the reasons of all the ways that we could do a show like this, we choose radio, because it's one of the still most impactful ways in this community and even beyond across the country, really. But really, it's what I wanted to do here. So entitled to your opinion. Might disagree with you on that finer point there at the end. But I think we have time for at least one more call on the line here before we hit the last break of the hour here and tell you what got coming up for you on the show here. We do have a call on the line here right now. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Good afternoon. This is Tony Westside.
Hey there, Tony.
Frankie, the home call. You were due back at 5:30 for dinner, and your polydent is not working. I feel the spit all the way over here while I'm driving. So take it easy. Take a chill pill. You say you're 80 years old. If you want to see next year, you got to calm down a little bit and listen instead of talking so much, okay? What I called about, Andrew, very quickly, is that I've got $1,000 that says that the core, diehard Democrats, even if you do give them the facts, which are out there, by the way, in the movie 2,000 Mules and so forth, even when you give them the facts about the cheating that went on, for example, the more votes that were cast and there are registered voters and things, all that's documented, it doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter because let me tell you, you Republicans don't understand who you're dealing with. The ideology that drives these people, that gives them the license to break the law and be immoral and everything they're doing, is the ideology that they believe that they're saving the planet, they're keeping the world from white supremacy, quote unquote, and they're bringing in social justice. That's what drives them. And unless we attack that tree at the root, we'll never get through to them because they don't care. As a matter of fact, they want gas prices to go up to $10 a gallon because then we can save the earth and reduce. So we need to understand. Barbara, you're a sweet lady, but you have no idea who you're dealing with. They don't give a darn about those facts. I've got $1,000. I'll say it this and I'll let you go. I got $1,000 that says that the diehard people like this, the two psychotics that call in, the one that just called and the one from the Northeast, that even if you give them the facts about the cheating that went on, they still will not change their worldview at all because they're so ingrained and so psychotic. Thank you for your patience, Andrew.
Sure thing. Appreciate the board and the call. You have a good one. All right. They appreciate it very much there. That's going to take us through that next break right now. So coming out of this break, well, I think we'll have enough time to tell you just about what we got coming up for you on the program and more here. So stay tuned for more Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Just a reminder, you can't get through on the lines here. Sometimes happens. You can also leave us messages. Either look for the pound 250 system or the talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app. Mention that just as a refresher here after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Back in a minute. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound at Copia, there's a stalled truck that's blocking the center lane. It's causing a bit of a backup towards the downtown area. Gateway South, the CD lane, southbound at Montana, an earlier crash is still blocking the exit ramp. Injury accident, Donovan Drive at Montoya Lane, and North and South Desert Boulevard is closed between Artcraft and Trans Mountain due to road work. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If your business is feeling a summer hiring wave, then you need Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Almost 3 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner that helps flush out airborne germs with powered suction. But what do doctors have to say about Navage? Here's Dr. Tonya Farmer, a board-certified ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Most airborne allergens and viruses enter through your nose. When that happens, it can cause congestion and irritation, and that just makes you feel miserable. You can get a cold, you can get flu, sinus infections, or even worse. Flushing your nose with a saline solution is the most effective way to flush all of those dangerous threats out of your nose. So now when patients come in my office, I tell them I highly recommend that you use Navage on a daily basis for overall good health and wellness.
And Navage is all natural and drug-free at Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Hey, I got a question for you. You hate bending over to put on your shoes? Wish you could just put them on standing or sitting without ever having to touch them? If so, then I have the shoe for you. Introducing new hands-free Skechers Slip-ins. With new Skechers Slip-ins, you just step in and off you go. You don't even need to lace up. So how do Skechers Slip-ins work? Well, there's a special smooth comfort pillow in the heel that helps your foot slide right into place. So just step in them and go. Find new hands-free Skechers Slip-ins for the whole family at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Jefferson High School grads, and especially you if you graduated in 1972. Your 50th reunion is here. Can you believe it? All grads are invited to join the class of 72 on Saturday, September 3rd at the St. Pius X Party Hall, 1050 North Clark Drive, from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. You'll relive the best years in a fun semi-formal event. That's Saturday, September 3rd. For tickets, contact Richard Marufo at 915-539-4853.
M1EP.com. Superior multifamily property management services citywide.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. We have covered quite a lot around here today, and I expect fully we'll keep doing that here. A couple of things we're working on for you. I know that there had been some mention of, well, the last Medal of Honor recipient from World War II had passed recently, working on maybe a short little thing for you on that, as well as we do have coming about lying in honor in the Capitol here actually tomorrow. So we can bring you on that, as well as some other discussion about water utilities and sources and the issues with them, both nationally and specifically in our area. So a couple of things we're working on for you there. Also, more analysis of the actual regional economic situation, looking at it microcosm, kind of a minor part that proves the overall situation when it comes to the availability of such things and what it means for businesses in the area, kind of continuing on with when we're talking about consumer price index, the local economic forecast, those kind of things. So stay tuned for more on that and a whole lot more here in the area here. And some comments I can't read off of Facebook here. Again, if you want to go back and catch any of our previous episodes or the comments that have come along with them, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch are where those are left. And just as a brief reminder, if you're not able to get in on one of our programs here or have a burning comment, well, maybe go see a doctor about that. But if you really want to get to us, you can leave it through us a couple of ways. There's both the pound 250 system, in which on your cell phone, has to be a digital call, so it has to be your cell phone. You dial pound 250, those four symbols, including the pound. Call it like a phone number. It'll ring, and you can leave a message after you say the keyword Talk El Paso. To say that, you'll hear a message from me and be able to leave us a message for our future shows as well. But also don't forget the talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app. It looks a little bit like this, including that little red microphone button next to the stop and play button when you're on the 690 page. You want to leave that for us, leave us a message there, day or night as well. That one's limited to about 30 seconds. So if you have, again, burning comment that is not doctor related, you're more than welcome to there. So that's going to about do it for us here today. I want to thank everyone who did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. Seriously, that conversation, that back and forth is what makes me want to keep doing this, among other things, because I could be shouting in a room to myself anytime I want. But having the conversation and getting people informed about what affects us here in the borderland is, well, the more interesting part for me anyway, and we'll keep doing that every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. here on the show. So thank you again, everyone, to tune in. We'll do it again tomorrow. So in the meantime, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound at Copia, there's a stalled truck that's blocking the center lane. It's causing a bit of a backup towards the downtown area. Gateway South, the CD lane, southbound at Montana, an earlier crash is still blocking the exit ramp. Injury accident, Donovan Drive at Montoya Lane, and North and South Desert Boulevard is closed between Artcraft and Trans Mountain due to road work. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Have you thought about getting dental implants? Has someone told you that dental implants cost $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 per tooth? Please do not pay that much money. Instead, go to 1995implants.com, the El Paso dental office where beautiful, top-quality, long-lasting dental implants are as low as $1,995 per tooth, including the implant, abutment, and crown. Plus, we offer a free consultation with the dentist, free standard x-rays, and convenient financing plans to fit your budget. At 1995implants.com, dental implants are very affordable. So, get rid of your cracked teeth, missing teeth, and loose, old, wobbly dentures and get the amazing new smile that you've been wanting. 1995implants.com is conveniently located right here in El Paso. For more information, please see our website, 1995implants.